Delighted to say we're joined by former Rochdale midfielder Joe Thompson and the COP TV presenter Alex Gildea Trott this morning to look back, firstly, on that eventful night for England in Poland. Gents, very good morning to you both. Joe, I'll start with you. What was it, do you think, yesterday in Warsaw? Job done for England? Before kick-off, they probably would have taken 1-0.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it as a whole, Gareth Southgate openly said that after the game. But when you take the game into how it was, 1-0 with a few minutes left, you would have expected us to hold on for the 3 points.
Alex, there's so much, isn't there, expectation around the side. Maybe that's why there's a bit of a flat feeling. What do you think? Did they get the credit they deserve, England?
To be fair, to come away from that game without any broken legs is quite unbelievable, to be honest. It was like watching the Football Factory last night. I was expecting Vinnie Jones to come out and headbutt someone. A lot of yellow cards, very hostile atmosphere. They knew exactly what they were doing by constantly fouling and wasting time, which you have to give them credit for. Obviously, you haven't lost in a qualifiers for a long time, Poland. But yeah, listen, as Joe said, before the game you would have taken it. However, it obviously does feel like a loss when you concede a goal like that in the last kind of couple of minutes and you see the uproar with the fans and how much it means to them. Then it does feel like a loss, but England do deserve some credit. Listen, 5 points clear of the group still. They're definitely going to qualify, and this was just one of those things where you take the point and go home.
Joe, what's it like to face a side like that, as Alex is referring to there, which is, let's say, physical?
Indeed, and I think I know all too well about it playing in the lower leagues. But it was always going to be a tough ask, as Alex said there. Warsaw has been, their home where, like he said, the hostile atmosphere. I think it's 20 home matches. They've not been beaten since 2013. It was a different challenge to the previous game, and unfortunately, they did manage to get that stoppage-time equaliser.
Alex, you mentioned a bit of the fans' frustration. Some of them a little surprised maybe that Southgate didn't make changes late on, maybe go out and win the game rather than worry about defending that 1-0 lead. First time since 1996, apparently, that an England manager hasn't made any substitutes. Was that the right call, do you feel?
Well, that's some find, whoever's found out that stat, by the way.
I can't take any credit for that at all.
Yeah, incredible. Amazing, 96. Wow, I mean, there were times when I was watching it where someone like Calvin Phillips, for example, had easy chances, I feel, to be a little bit more positive. There was a good ball into Harry Kane that he didn't play in the first half. A lot of his passes were quite safe. But then you look at the game overall and say, well, if you brought him off and put a more attacking player on, would we have left ourselves a bit more vulnerable in the midfield? We would have liked to have seen a couple more attacking players come on. You obviously had the likes of Bamford there on the bench. But, yeah, I guess, sometimes, Klopp does it at Liverpool as well. Very famously doesn't make any changes because he's quite happy with how things are going. And I think that's what Southgate was thinking last night. I mean, I would have brought someone on personally. But, again, I'm not the England manager. So
who would you have gone for, Alex?
Care to me? I would have brought on someone like Henderson just to shore up the game. I know Calvin Phillips can be seen to be quite similar to Henderson, but I think that experience, that leadership on the pitch, it's like having another captain there. But listen, it was a 1-1 draw. It almost didn't need another substitute because, as you guys said, we've done well to come away with the point.
Yeah. Joe, when you're playing and let's say you're on the subs bench, how frustrating is it when you think that you can make an impact on the game but the manager's not turning to anyone at that point to try and change things up?
It is, but I think you've got to put the team first, and if you are a substitute on the bench, you are desperate to go and make a positive impact on the pitch. It would have been a difficult game to come in as a substitute with the momentum shifting and the pressure coming from the Poles, particularly in that last 10 minutes or so. But you always want to back yourself as a player, and if you can contribute to the game, whether you're on the subs bench or, starting, that's what you want to do.
Alex, we've seen England cruise through qualifying, haven't we, before, and get to major tournaments. And how can they use these games to make sure that the same sort of mistakes maybe don't happen again. You know, the idea of maybe taking a lead and failing to go on and win the game. I guess most recently we can see that in the Italy performance, can't we?
Yeah, listen, obviously it's been a bit of an issue where we take the lead and then can't really finish the game off. But I think all these games in qualifying leading up to the World Cup next year, it's just about momentum. Get those wins on the board, get as many points in the bag as you can possibly get. And listen, you can only beat who's in front of you. Yes, it might be a San Marino, a Bulgaria, an Andorra. However, a win's a win, and especially in the international stage, all these wins contribute to hopefully what we all hoping for, which is a strong tournament. And yeah, I mean, every win counts, and let's hope that all these wins actually mean something come next year.
Joe, I want to talk to you about mindset. I know you do a lot of work in this area with elite athletes. What do you think the mindset of the England squad is at the moment? I mean, Gareth Southgate, he talks very eloquently about it. Listened to numerous podcasts of him talking about mindset, emotional intelligence, etc. But do you think there was just a little bit of too conservative last night, where they could have gone on and perhaps got that win?
He does speak about it quite openly, doesn't he? About the importance of psychology, how he implemented it through the Euros, and it's a big part of the game, and it's something that I do a lot of work with, particularly younger footballers, because we talk about that emotional intelligence and resilience. There's going to be times in games where you really are up against it and you've got to dig deep. And it will be something that they're fully aware of, but I'm sure it's something that him and his team and his backroom staff will be addressing, because, you know, in hindsight, if England come away 1-0 winners and don't make any substitutions, we don't really have this conversation, do we?
Exactly. Do you think Southgate does it well, Joe, this whole elite performance? And I know you work with a lot of athletes. I don't know, from your experience, if you think you can see within the England camp certain things working.
100%. It's evident. You know, you can see it. There's a real good culture that's been created, a real positive environment. And when we talk about that emotional intelligence, I believe in, you know, a person before the player. And he seems to have built those relationships with the players and seems to know what gets them going and motivate them. But it's just going that one step further now, isn't it? It's what we all want.
And Alex, talk to us about Harry Kane's strike. He said it was probably one of the best goals he's scored. How good a finish was it?
Yeah, there was an interesting stat when watching the game last night that I think Lewandowski has scored 38 of 41 goals this season inside the box, whereas we know Harry Kane is obviously a sharpshooter from outside the box. And it's one of those strikes where you're far enough out and there's bodies in the way that you think, I'm going to give this a go. And luckily for Kane, I think it's moved and it's obviously bounced just before Szczesny could get his hand to it. So I'm not surprised that the keeper didn't save it, even though it wasn't necessarily nestled in the bottom corner. But with the power that he's hit it, the bodies that it's gone through, the movement on it, it's a clean strike, isn't it? And Harry Kane, you know, it doesn't surprise me when he scores these kind of goals, because when you take shots from outside 25 yards, 30 yards, and you've got his technique with the way he strikes the ball and the movement on it, doesn't surprise me that the goal's gone in. But I'd say, to be fair to Harry, I think he's actually underplaying himself there. I think he scored a lot better goals than that. I'm not saying it wasn't his best goal, but I've seen him score better goals, especially with right and left foot. But yeah, great finish from Harry Kane, and one that the keeper probably couldn't even see as it flew past him.
Yeah, let's talk about the man at the other end. You mentioned him there, Alex, Robert Lewandowski. Joe, I just want to ask, he got the assist yesterday for the equaliser, again the main man for Poland. He says he wants to leave Bayern Munich in the near future. Do you think we could see him in the Premier League? It certainly seems like he'd be well suited.
Hopefully so. You know, he's, I suppose, the similar ilk as Cristiano Ronaldo and Edison Cavani. They're the wrong side of 30, but when you talk about elite performers and class operators, Robert Lewandowski's right up there. So I'm sure if he does make himself available to any of the Premier League teams, there'll be managers ringing him up as soon as possible, because he's a ruthless operator, and if you provide him with chances, he will finish. And, you know, last night I felt John Stones and Harry Maguire dealt with him quite well, but he still had that moment of magic with a delightful cross to the back post.